level is just AP Scholar. Out of 5 possible points, you have to score an average of a 3, and on 3 or more AP exams, and you're considered an AP Scholar. Step up from that, this is I think new because I had not seen it until this last year, but you have to get a 3.25 average on 3 or on 4 or more of the exams. So we have currently 2 students who fall into that category. I believe they can make it to the next level of recognition this year. They are seniors now. And the highest level is a scholar with distinction. Gets at least 3.5 on all their exams taken and 3 or higher on 5 or more of the exams they take. Most kids in AP take more than one test. If possible, they take more than one exam per year. Sophomores, you can start at the sophomore level and take 1 AP class, it's world history. Junior year, you have more options. There's English, history, and depending on your science or math level, you can take something like that. And then senior year, you have even more options. So you can see those 3 years highlighted. We noted AP Scholars with distinction. And I know it's hard to see this, but there is a picture of the hallway right next to the front gym door with all the AP Scholars and all of these kids listed on it. So
yeah, it's kind of like the athletic display board.
Like that.
When we updated all those several years ago, they added the board there for the AP stuff. And some of the stuff that we just kind of wanted to remind you, I forgot to add it, I meant to, Jill, that there's a map of AP schools that offer advanced placement courses. Mm-hmm. And these are not in competition with dual credit, but this is another just a way to challenge our top students. And we are one of the few schools south of Mount Vernon that offer very many AP at all. Mm-hmm. In fact, that's one of the things we've been able to kind of offer and retain some of our students who are looking for more from high school, like McCracken County can offer and other places. So it is an important program, and the kids get a lot more out of it than just those scores and getting that college credit. We've had a lot of feedback over the years. The kids that took the course maybe didn't get the 3, they got a 2 out of 5 on the exam, but then they got to college and it was much easier. We got a lot of feedback like that. In fact, I think one was Shelby, your relative. I remember she wrote back and said, I was glad I had that AP Lit class before I went to
well, because it goes into research skills and your different kinds of higher level thinking that you're not getting in a normal class, you're getting a college level class, but in high school. And it's recognized nationally. So that would be the difference. Our program began in 2006-07. Only 2 courses were offered that year just to kind of get our feet wet, and then we've added courses over time. This year I'm testing over 10 different courses. The tests are always in May, like the first 2 weeks before graduation. And we do kind of vary across the curriculum. We've got a little bit of everything in there: math, science, history, English, whatever, all of those different subject areas.
Yeah, and I added a little bit to Jill's presentation. She had the part about the sport. There's a link, and when I give you this handout, you'll have this, but if you're interested, you can go through. Illinois made a law back in 2016, I think it was, 15 or 16, that every college or university in Illinois has to recognize AP exams and give kids credit for those scores. And Shawnee has a list. I just pulled them because I know we have a lot of kids go to Shawnee, and we're working with Shawnee to try to get more of our kids that way. But this is a list of what they accept and what they give credit for. And I put a little table together there in Jill's presentation to kind of show that. It doesn't have a minimum score for the biology, so I wasn't sure what that is on their website. But all the others, you can see if you get a 3 or higher on AP Calculus, they give you credit for Math 209, which is a 4-hour credit course, I believe. On some of them, like AP Language, AP Literature, and the histories, if you get a 5, you get 2 credits. If you get a 3, you get 1 credit. So basically, you get the credit for the class having not taken the class because you score on the AP. So that's part of the incentive to take these classes. A lot of our kids, our top tier kids, take these classes because it's a way to compete. It's that extra challenge to compete for that top honor. So we didn't do this on purpose, but what's happened is if you want to be valedictorian, there's no way to do that without taking advanced placement courses. And now, as last year we talked about, really we're getting into the point where our top 10% of our students are above a 4.0 in years, and of course that was not our intention, but that's something, it creates just an extra challenge for those upper tier kids. And so we're working, Jill and I met with the AP teachers the other day, last half day, and we're working to try to, really, we still have improvements to be made. I think we offer more than enough courses for our side of the school. It's just a matter of doing a better job with the courses we offer. Do you agree with that?
Yes, and changing some procedural things. There will be some changes in the AP program from the national level that we're going to have to implement. Often the courses themselves are updated and the tests will change, and the teachers generally have to go be retrained on the new procedures and the new tests. And we do that just when it comes down. And we've seen a lot of good feedback from teachers coming away from those workshops. When they're sent to those, they get a lot of good information from other teachers in the field, but also experts that have made the tests. They can get assistance with, this is what you need to focus on, or areas that they need to improve on to make their kids better. This is a chart that just shows the history of our program and where our scores have been. The blue line is the score of 1 out of 5. The purple, the little tiny purple ones down there have been 5s over the years. It's very difficult to achieve a 5. So, but you see in the background, it tells you how many total students have taken the test that particular year, and then the green in the background is how many tests were taken. Because a lot of students take more than one test, so you see the difference there.
This is a very impressive chart, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
I like charts.
I know you like charts.
And I'll give you guys this one, but there's a lot of information on this chart.
It shows you that, if they're scoring at least a 2, they're getting something worthwhile out of the class. And I think that's a valid score.
Yeah, that's something we had to talk about as a department, because we celebrate increased 2s and fewer 1s, because going from a 1 to 2 isn't just like, hey, I got a few more right. It's a significant portion of the test. And then moving to a 3 is another significant portion of the test. And like she said, a 5, that's really doing something. There are very few 5s on any AP test overall, if you look at the percentages. So we do have, some of our top kids are just like all the other top kids in the world. And I think that's important to know. Just because we're in Massac County doesn't mean that our top kids can't compete with the rest of them. And also, it's not something that we're just trying to promote over anything else. We got to balance this out with dual credit and our vocational offerings and everything else. But this is something I think it's very strong. I'm very proud of the program right now, and we just need to kind of continue making some improvements with it.
So what would be the pro of taking an AP instead of dual credit?
Essentially, it just depends on what you want out of it. The dual credit, like she said, is you're going to get dual credit with a local community college, and most of the time that's a transfer credit. They can't guarantee that unless it's usually within Illinois sometimes. But the AP is it's national. It goes with you anywhere.
So if our kids graduate here with an AP score of 3 or better, chances are if they go to a Kentucky university or a college, that Kentucky college is going to say, oh, well, I recognize what that means. And they may give the credit there. They're not required to because of the Illinois, the cross-state line thing. But in Illinois, they would be required to.
And, if you're going, and that's why it's important to have these conversations with parents when they're signing up, because if your student's going to stay, they're going from Massac County High School to Shawnee, then it makes more sense to stay towards the dual credit course, you know, because you can still get credit for the AP, but you're going to knock out several required classes doing the dual credit on your towards your associates. So they both are good options. It just depends kind of on where you're going. And generally, what I talked to, the former president of Shawnee years ago, and he said, you know, if my son's going straight up to U of I think it makes more sense to take those AP courses, you know. But you know, if you're going straight to a community college, then the dual credit might be the better option.
Also, with our GPA structure, and this gets into a little bit here, your grade is weighted if you take an AP course and you have to take the exam with it. If you're just taking the AP course and you don't end up following through and taking the exam, your weight is taken away. That just makes it fair for the other kids that are taking it and following through. So that might be part of what you're.
And it also strengthens our program because we've had, some of you may remember because you've been around this, we've had courses we called AP in the past, but we didn't follow the guidelines. No one took the test, and they took it away from us because it wasn't a true AP program. This is governed by the College Board, which is just like
ACT, SAT.
Yeah, they are the ones that make the SAT. It's the same organization that make and administer the SAT. Sorry, I interrupted.
No, you're exactly right. This just kind of goes through a couple different things. The test itself costs $94 per test. So, as I said earlier, some kids are taking multiple tests. Any kid can take an AP course if they sign up to take it. Sometimes they weed themselves out and discover it's not what they expected, or they're not ready for it, and that's their choice. But we're not going to deny anybody access to the class. This equity thing on the third point, it was on an equity report that I read, and it just showed like an increase over the previous year, and it does this, I have the data for the last few years, but just where the graduating class scored as opposed to last year's graduating class. I thought that was kind of an interesting statistic. We measure growth through benchmark testing just like we do in any other class. We have a pre-test and a mid-test, and then of course the final test at the end of the year is the real deal, but these benchmarks kind of give feedback to the teachers and to the students where they might place in the final test. So we do practice exams with them. So moving forward, we wanted to see if we could propose a little program to help boost test scores, just as an incentive program. We're not looking to increase the amount of AP courses right now, just to increase and give an incentive for kids who are taking them. Other schools do these same things, we just never have implemented something like this. 3 or higher, if you make a 3 or higher, we propose that you could be reimbursed for the cost of your exam.
That is what they do at several other schools that we researched. One in particular is Tillman. So if you get a 3, they may have a graduated scale or something, but they start reimbursing the kids. It's a cost to the parents. And I think it's a good investment for the school district to look at this. And again, you guys will have time to look at this and digest. And then if you decide to do this, you can do that next meeting. But this is
a
something.
student that comes from a low-income family that can't afford to take.
Oh, I didn't touch on that. It's on there, but I
Okay.
forgot to say it. But if a student is free reduced for any kind of federally recognized program, the cost is $0 to the kid.
Yeah. So what we're just talking about is I'd like the board to consider adding this to the AP program. So like they score 3 or higher, consider reimbursing them for the test, and even if they didn't pay for the test, and to give them an incentive for trying harder. The bad part about these AP exams is they come at the end of May, sometimes even after kids have graduated.
Generally, we don't get a score report until July.
Yeah, and so the incentive to do well, as you know, at the end of the year is tough. And it's the hardest test that we offer at the high school level. It makes the SAT and ACT look like quizzes, and it really is. So she has some ideas here that she came up with the AP teachers, and we talked about it briefly. One of the things, there's a little bit extra for the senior AP students because sometimes they completely give up towards the end. They call it senioritis or whatever. And this is something we just like you to, just something to consider. And like I said, if you, this is something we wanted to ask Jill to come on out in this meeting a little bit sooner than probably what we were ready, because I want to give you all time to think about it, and then we can come back and revisit it. But if you decide to offer something like this, I would like to make it active for the current students that are going to be testing in May, to give them just a little more.
Average, how many students would usually be?
They're generally 50 to 70 students, is that about
Well,
right?
if you look at the, go back up there, and
Yeah, I didn't.
it'd be, what, 115, I think, tested last year. Over 142 maybe tests, I can't remember exactly. So we'd be talking about the green, the yellow, and the purple. We didn't have anybody score 5.
Yeah,
So we,
shoot, sorry.
Okay.
What is that?
I mean, it, right here is what, 20?
Yeah,
let's
20
say
plus maybe
10.
10. Talking about 30 tests. If we would have had
That got 3.
3 or
Three or
higher.
higher.
That's probably
Last
average.
year's.
And most of the national averages on the pass rate for these tests are below 50%. So we've looked that up. Less than half of all students in the United States that take these tests pass them with a 3 or higher. So it would always be, and we're a little below the national average.
That was one of the reasons for the incentive proposal, because we are a little bit lower than the average for these test scores. One thing an anecdote kind of along what you were saying earlier, I've been told that a parent signing up a freshman student this year asked specifically about taking AP courses. We don't offer any but for freshmen. But the parent said, I know all about your AP program because I already have a student that has graduated from here. And we were able to save $1,800 in one semester because this child had achieved whatever scores and was able to get some credit. I mean, that's a significant statement that these parents are recognizing that this is necessary. You know, if your student is going to go on to a higher level university, this is something they need.
And the thing I really like about it is we have, with our regular programming, we have required classes that really the top students can breeze through and get an A without ever really being challenged. And then you see them go off to a 4-year university or something and struggle a little bit because they never learned how to learn. You know, they never had to. And these courses are designed to kind of push that a little bit further. And I think I know Larry and I have talked about that before. That's something it's not a lot of kids, but there are always a few kids in there that can kind of breeze through our average curriculum and not have to do a whole lot. And you can't breeze through these classes. I mean, this is going to be a different animal. So we're hoping to kind of keep pushing that forward a little bit too.
I personally think we ought to take more money, put toward this than less money, because, you know, we want to make an incentive, give them money to really want them to dive into it. Not fear this, you know, this extra money at the end of the year. You get some families may end up with 2 or 3 kids in school at the same time, so I mean, you're not only going out, you know, this amount, you're going out 3 times, maybe
That
2
happens,
courses.
yeah.
So next thing you know, they got 5 payouts.
$600.
And some kids take 5 tests at a time. So it's expensive.
So, I mean,
It adds
you know,
up.
I'm sorry, but you know, we don't do enough for that upper end. And I'm the prime example. I had kids one kid that knew how to study, one kid didn't, because one breezed through and the other one had to work. When they got to college, it was totally reversed. You know?
Well, and I think what your statement is true. I mean, we've spent, and you always do spend a lot of time trying to find the students that are a little bit behind or the deficits and fixing them, and sometimes we neglect that top, but you got to spend some time in that top end too. And that's important. And we don't have all the money in the world to offer forensic science and some of the things that some of these other schools do, but I think this is really not a huge, expensive program. We probably need to invest a little more in it.
There are lots of different AP options, but, you saw our course offerings, that we do have a good variety of courses, so.
And I think, I'm speaking for Jill here, but the program coordinator and teachers are open for suggestions too. So if you guys have some ideas on, we don't want to just incentivize the heck out of the program and make it, something that it's not. But at the same time, I think it's, like Larry said, it's important to kind of put our money where our mouth is too and support.
Yeah, you can see that there's growth. We've increased our number of course offerings. We've increased the number of tests being taken overall. And scores, it varies year to year, but the kids are succeeding. And, if we can maybe try to boost it a little bit. Yeah, let's hope.
I wish no kidding.
Well, and if we can boost this and continue to boost our dual credit and some of the other things, I think there's a balance there that we need to make sure we're attending to both sides.
So when would we use the vote?
The next meeting, if that's all right. That way you guys can have time to think about it. And if you have thoughts,
If we can change anything, or
if anybody has questions for Jill, her email's real simple, jshelton@massac.org. Email her, she'll get back to you quicker
or
than
call
I do.
me.
Thank you very much. This is good.
Appreciate that. That's been, good information. Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jill.
We can make this what's good, we can take it, continue to make it better, and, be a program that other high schools in the area have after.
I think that's an advantage we have over some other schools in our area.
And even some of the bigger schools up around Marion and Carbondale don't have what we have in the AP. Well, I think Carbondale does have, they're starting to build their program, but,
What's an average spend now?
actually, the only expense we've incurred is the training. We have to train teachers, they have to go through a certain training, and they're only offered in certain places, so it's not local, Bowling Green, I think is the closest in St. Louis. So there's a cost there. And then curriculum, they make us update our curriculum every so often. And then we have to retrain teachers every so often because they revamp. Nothing stays the same. So we've had AP US history just for not that many years since we've been out there, and they've already changed it.
The government changed this year, and we had to buy a little bit of new materials. It really wasn't that. We just did an update.
Actually, how many teachers do we have that
One for each one of those.
Just one for each one of.
One for each one of
Each one of
these.
those courses?
Yeah.
One?
And then we
Okay.
have a couple others that are offered in virtual, like online.
Yeah, if there's something that somebody just would like to take that they feel like they could take online, there is an online option. It's a much harder option than being face-to-face with a teacher, but we've been doing that for a number of years. In fact, we started some of our AP courses that way because you can't afford to have a class of 2 students and pay a teacher.
We have 5 this year that are taking online courses. And there are 2 different courses online.
And all of these are junior, senior courses except the one
World
history, which is a sophomore course?
Yes.
There are a couple of courses that kind of lead to this that we encourage kids to take if they're thinking about this. So there's an accelerated kind of course for the English and biology, but it's not mandatory. We can't say, okay, you got to have this to get in here. That's illegal.
Overtime, 1656.
We have an announcement.
What's that?
Massac County wanted overtime, 1656.
Oh, no kidding. Wow.
Overtime.
Yeah, that's really good. This is the first round of regional. So I believe if I read the brackets right, we play Carbondale next.
And what night?
Tomorrow night?
Tomorrow night, yeah.
Because Carbondale had the bye, I believe.
That's great. Congratulations.
Yeah.
time to
Thank you,
learn.
Jill. I know
Okay.
you had something you needed to do, so don't feel like
Okay.
you have to stay in. I appreciate you coming.
Aaron, did you have anything you wanted to?
Not tonight, unfortunately. Thanks.
Not,
Not
not
tonight.
tonight, sure. Michelle, did you have anything to say? Okay. Moving on. Minutes, everyone received the minutes. Jill, thank you.
Oh,
Thank you very
thank you for having me.
There was an amendment to the board report on the bills. Did everybody get that? I had it
Yes.
out up there. We're trying to get the board packets out on Wednesday now instead of Thursday because we've had so much trouble with the mail lately. But I forgot to tell Jamie we were doing that, so.
Falling, right?
Yeah, that was my fault. But, so you have an amendment. So you have an amendment there. I've looked over them though, there's really not much, there's a software renewal, I could have asked Jill about, that's for our, basically it's the updated Dewey Decimal System, that's what the Follett software is. We have to keep that active to check in, check out books in the library. I don't think there was anything else that stood out. If you have questions, I can try to answer them, don't you, anybody has.
Yeah, she's looking for.
Bowling shirts.
I still certainly appreciate Kathy, being able to step in and help out throughout this time with all this, that,
Yeah, we're still hoping for a speedy recovery for Betty.
I was, she is doing some
I think,
off the
yeah,
subject, but still doing.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
She's down turning.
Well, I think she will.
She's doing really
She'll be
well.
back. She'll be back.
She's doing really well.
One strong lady. She'll be back. Okay, so would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Minutes? Are we doing a blanket or consent?
Yeah, we usually do them all three together.
Do we have a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Bruder?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Ms. Larison?
Yes.
Ms. Rushing?
Yes.
Mr. Summer?
Yes.
Ms. Steele?
Yes. Okay, now we're at the superintendent's report.
And I'll try to make this quick. I don't have a whole lot. The remind messages are up again, and I think it's important to note that we're spending a lot of time communicating with parents, and we've gotten a lot of good feedback here lately, using some of that remind technology and the text message service. So I just always, I'll give you a copy of these updated charts, but we've had over 60,000 conversations, and that's the big one that I always look at, because that means that it went back and forth. It wasn't just, hey, there's no school today. You know, it was someone asking a question and someone answering. We're just tracking that. I always try to point that out, but I'll give you that data and you can look at that.
I did personally sign up for the, I guess the school was canceled. How do I get off of that?
There are actually instructions we can send you.
Okay.
You have to remove yourself. We can't
Okay.
remove you, but you don't.
You don't? Because sometimes I'll get 2 phone calls.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Yeah, it's not a perfect system, but
No, it's very nice.
I even get several text messages when I send out the text message. Whatever. Also, don't forget the park window, or the IER is coming up, so there may be questions about that. I know we're slowly solidifying some of those testing windows, and so I just put that on there because I want to get that out there. And I thought the more we talk about that, it's very important that our kids show up on those days and represent the school well, because that's a measuring stick now, whether we like it or not or agree with it. That's what people look at to determine whether we're doing a good job. And I believe we are. We just need to make sure our test scores reflect that. The total expenditures this month was almost identical to last month, which is, I guess that's a positive. Just depends on how you look at it. It's $1,776,000. and some change there, so we're still monitoring our expenses. And you're going to see a little bit of bump coming up because they added some, for whatever reason, to our title. So we were able to buy some more mobile labs. And I don't know if I've mentioned this, but to date, we will have put in, I think, 12 new mobile labs this year across the district, those Chromebook labs. And we're really trying to get as many of those out there as possible because all the testing's done online and there's just a lot of resources for that. So we're not near one-to-one, but we're getting there. At the elementary school, there's a cart for each grade level now, which is one cart for 3 classrooms, which is close to what we've been in some of the county schools. We still need another one at Franklin to get that same ratio. Our cash balance also remained close to the same, $5,418,000 for the month of January, and we closed out. I got some important upcoming dates. This Friday is a 11:15 dismissal. Make sure and hit that. Sometimes that sneaks up on parents. And then Monday is Pulaski Day, which also sneaks up on parents because that's not a well-known holiday. So the kids are out Monday on March 4th. And then we have that 2 p.m. dismissal on Friday, March 29th, because that's the start of spring break. We always dismiss at 2 for that week off. So, and the following week is spring break. So, some dates, and in between there we'll be doing some testing, and then after spring break they'll be finishing some testing. That's pretty much all I had for the superintendent's report. The boys, just side note, you guys already know the regional tournament started tonight. The 6th grade tournament also started tonight. I know that's important for a lot of people. Jefferson's hosting the girls, Unity's hosting the boys, and then both championship games will be played at junior high this Saturday. And all the brackets we posted on Facebook if anyone's interested in any of those.
And school visit.
Oh, and the school visit, I forgot about that. We're set to go for Wednesday, the 27th, as long as everybody's still good for that. That was still good.
Do we want to meet here? Do we want to meet at MES?
I figured we would probably meet here unless you all want to drive separate. It doesn't matter. I thought we could maybe combine some.
One note on that, Jason, make sure that when we go to MES, that we take a look at the maintenance building down there, so everybody understands
The one-
exactly how bad it
Okay.
is.
Okay, we just don't want to spend too much time in it because it.
Don't want to spend no time.
I'm not going in. I'll be
Yeah.
glad when you all get it.
So we're meeting here at what? No, we meet here.
I figured if you wanted to be here somewhere between 8 and 8:30, and then we do take off around 8:30, if that's okay.
Okay.
Um,
Leave here at 8:30.
You can come anytime. I mean, I'll be here from 7:30 on, but you can come whenever you want. And I figure we take off around 8:30 and everyone should be in class. So, and we can spend as much time or as little time as you know, whatever you guys want to do. I just want to make sure we don't interrupt classrooms too much as we go around.
I guess as we do this visit, I don't know what everybody's looking for. I know I had the opportunity to be at the high school in Vienna a couple weeks ago, and that's when I really realized that we need some updating on some of our things in our schools. And it was just clean and shiny. That's what I remembered about it.
Well, you're not going to find that at some of our schools.
No.
I think they'll be clean. There's some schools that aren't going to be shiny no matter what we do.
Yeah, I was really surprised. And maybe it was the colors they had on the wall or something, but everything,
Popped.
it popped and it looked new, even though it probably wasn't.
Actually, they've had an addition not too many years ago. It's been since I student taught there. Pretty big addition where they did the commons area and everything.
Well, I
That's
was
all
in the
new.
commons area,
That's
but I was
all
in the
new.
gym too.
The gym's old, but all the stuff connecting to it and everything they redid.
Grade school basically all new, so.
And, you know, junior high's been there since 2002. It looks as good as the day we opened. It looks better than the day we opened.
And it's probably in better shape now with the roof. Most of it.
Are we having any problems at all with flooding around Brookport School?
No, actually, I was there this morning, and it looks better, honestly, than it did in 2011. And I believe, I could be wrong about this, but I think they still had that malfunctioning flap gate or whatever then, and water was actually coming back through the pipe, and so the water actually looks better in and around the school than it did then. It was nerve wracking then, and you know, they eventually ordered an evacuation of Brookport last time. I don't think, they've got all their floodgates up and everything appears to be holding. So actually, the city, metropolis, looks like it's in worse shape than Brookport right now.
I've not heard a whole lot about Brookport as far as anybody in bad shape inside the city, inside the flood wall, but in metropolis, it's true.
Yeah, so, I don't know, but we're definitely, we've got people there, and I told Brooke to stay there this week just in case something goes haywire with the whole flood wall thing. We want to make sure we have buses available that can pick all the kids up within.
And I read that the high school's helping with the sandbags. That's
Yeah,
excellent.
the high school is helping out. There's no telling how many they did today. They had a pallet full of bags they went through, but they were starting to pile some up. So we'll have a sandbagging station there again tomorrow, and then we'll just see if there's a need moving forward. But we're not delivering sandbags, we're just piling them up, and anybody that needs sandbags is welcome. Whether they're county, Brookport, whoever, they can come, if they need sandbags, they can come get them.
Also, we're going to make sure that Keith told me today that their church went up there to get the sandbags, and they told them that they were from the city and they weren't able to get them. You know,
Yeah, well, we had that conversation today, so.
yeah, just make sure that they know it's for anybody, you know.
Yeah, because I told Mr. Smith's kind of heading it up for us, and I said, we don't care, they can be from Kentucky, but if they need sandbags, they get sandbags. So, we're not policing that. In fact, we're not even really doing a whole lot with.
He said someone said something about him, wouldn't let him have it, and so they had to go.
You know
back.
what church it was?
One south something. I can find out.
Okay. Yeah, let me know, because I'd be interested, because we had that conversation a couple different times, and, you know, there's always that kind of argument between the city and county, and yeah, we're not in that fight.
I saw on
No,
Facebook that we have at least
absolutely not.
one teacher that was having
We're
the
for
sandbag.
anybody that needs
I also
it.
wonder how many other employees.
We've had a handful. I know I was out at Rachel Daig's house Sunday helping out, and so there are a few.
Rachel, Tracy.
Osman, yeah.
Osman.
And I talked to,
They're right here.
it's old
He don't
house.
live there.
No, he still owns it though.
He does? Okay.
Yeah. And Becky Nieder, I talked to her dad is flooded out on Belgrade Road. Tracy is out on Belgrade Road, so they're a handful.
Jennifer, Angela, I saw on
Yeah.
Facebook.
Yeah, we've had a few, I don't know, just one of those things we're gonna deal with, I think, more often than not these days. Oh, and on the Shawnee discussion, I wanted to continue that. I didn't create a slide, but I met with the Shawnee's president, Dr. Bradford, and the assistant, or vice president, I'm not sure what her title is, Dr. Shelby, Kristen Shelby, and
She's not vice president. she's
Dean
I don't know what her title was, but we met last Wednesday, had a very good discussion, and they're going to come over, along with some of the district priorities that we talked about as a board. They're going to come over and administer a career interest survey to our 7th graders this spring. And we felt like that was a good level to start at, you know, when we start trying to identify vocation, college, career, that kind of thing. So they're going to pay for that, administer it, and it's something that can follow the kids from 7th grade on. And it's pretty valuable feedback I think we'll get. So we're going to be working with them moving forward. And I'll have some
I
proposals.
actually had the opportunity to see Dr. Bradford after she left you, and she told me that she helped.
It was a very productive meeting. I think we're on, we both had some ideas and trying to think outside the box and things we haven't done in the past. And I think we've got some things that may work out.
And Kristen's very interested in our community for
But-
me.
And I grew up with Kristen, so it's real easy to have those conversations because we're close. So I think that'll work out.
Do we have any other unfinished business that anyone knows about? No. Okay,
And
moving on.
when you get to that first one, I want to table that, but I want to make sure I can bring it on unfinished business next time so that we can have a chance to vote for that. If you guys,
Okay.
you know, if I don't, I'll forget about it.
Okay. So you want to move the consideration of the changes to the AP program?
Yeah, can you if you will table that one for now, and that way it'll be unfinished business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Larry's made a motion to
Part A,
table.
section A.
Okay, hold on a second.
I don't think you have to vote on it, table it, but that'll be good. That way I'll have it for unfinished business next time, otherwise.
Hey, see, you gotta vote on the table. The table?
You gonna put it on this one?
Yeah.
Lisa, you got to vote on it too?
Table?
No.
You don't have to.
You don't have to vote on it.
Well, you guys can vote on it if you'd like.
Go ahead.
Go ahead and do the roll call.
Do the roll
All right,
call, then
Mr.
we'll
Berger.
do it. Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Ms. Larison?
Yes.
Ms. Rushing?
Yes, I think
Mr. Summer? Ms. Steele?
Yes.
I think we have some time.
Okay, the next thing is the proposal for the accounting and payroll software services from SDS.
Yeah, I tried to explain that in the email. It's getting confusing, but everything we have currently is ending. So we've already approved the student management program, which is just for student demographics, student grades, student discipline, student attendance, all that stuff. This SDS is the other side, the financial software. What we're using now is all STI, both sides, and both are going away. We have next year as our last supported year, and we've already paid for part of that, so we don't have to do anything with this until the year after next. But there's a waiting list, and there's not very many companies out there, and so SDS has already got a list that's pretty long, and they said if you're serious about this, you need to go ahead and approve it, and we'll put you on the list. And I think there's not much we have to pay initially, but you have to sign a contract and things. So that's for the payroll and accounting is what that is. And it's cheaper than the student management system, but it's still pricey.
Second.
Okay, Larry made a motion, Bob had second. Are there any more discussion?
Get over it.
You got a hand?
Roll call, please.
Mr. Berger?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Ms. Larison?
Yes.
Ms. Rushing?
Yes.
Mr. Summer?
Yes. Yes.
And Ms. Steele?
Yes. Okay. The amended school calendar to reflect the emergency
Yeah,
issues.
that one, we haven't amended, I meant to point this out last time, the end of the year, but we always go back and amend the days we've used, and so we used a snow day, January 30th or whatever it was, and so the calendar that's in there amends that to a snow day, and then we wait till we get through hopefully all the snow season and or flood season, and then we'll amend the end of the year, so there'll be one more amendment, right, Lisa, to the school calendar, but this just takes,
Final, yeah.
yeah, this takes care of what we've done thus far.
Well, we had 2 snow days.
2 snow days.
We have a motion to amend it.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Yeah, I'll second.
Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Berger?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Ms. Larison?
Yes.
Ms. Rushing?
Yes.
Mr. Summer?
Yes.
Ms. Steele?
Yes. Okay, now we're looking at the proposed 2019-2020 school calendar.
Yeah, and we have worked with the union on this, so we had 2 versions of a calendar. Aaron, they were both very similar. If I missed something, chime in there, but
Right.
essentially, the spring break on the other calendar was the week after Good Friday. This one's the week of Good Friday. And they used that extra day that we would have got out for Good Friday on top of the spring break and put it in to October, right? And then the only other change is we had, under the old rules, we had the option of 2 parent-teacher conferences a year instead of 1. We've never done that, to my knowledge, ever. So Aaron and the teachers asked if we could try that. So we would have a fall and a spring parent-teacher conference, and it's probably not a bad idea. You had, under the old rules, you had to trade that second one for a half day, is that right?
I think so, something like that.
And Lisa, this is going to depend on, there's a bill right now in the General Assembly regarding the 5-hour instructional day. So we may have to amend this one if it doesn't fit within the parameters of
Do you
what.
want me to wait before I go ahead and put it in?
Yeah, I would wait a little bit because
Okay.
it's coming up for a vote, I think, any day now. And if the board approves this one and this doesn't fit the law, we'll have to kind of go back to the drawing board a little bit.
That's what I was trying.
I think it will. I don't think.
I figured if nothing else, we could change one day or something.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
The only one I'm unsure of is the second parent-teacher conference. I think everything else is going to fall.
Yeah, we've been having pretty good attendance at the parent-teacher conferences
Not great.
Great.
It depends on the level though. It's a lot better at the elementary level.
I figured.
And at certain sites, the high school is very poorly
Poor.
attended. I think the junior high is probably less than the elementary, but better than high school.
Well, you
I
have
go
four
home mine.
teachable service.
We used to go,
Parent
I
teacher.
don't know where
I'll
we
go,
went to.
I'll go
I bet
next
you
year,
have
that's
that.
too.
We thought, I don't know, we went to high school, probably didn't go to high school because kids didn't tell us what it was.
You have to have 176 days of student attendance days, and they let you subtract one student attendance day for a parent-teacher conference. And then under the old rules, you could add another one and subtract another student attendance day if you do not have a half day. So we've eliminated one half day, that school improvement half day is gone, and that's the second parent-teacher conference. So really, there's 1 day difference, 1 half day actually.
One less.
1 half day less, yes.
Okay, so I'd like to see sometime the actual involvement of what school and how many parent teachers.
I can probably get to
I'd
that,
like to see that.
because we keep assigning at all the schools.
I'd like to know.
Yeah, I can get that too.
Yeah. If we're doing it, if it's
Yeah.
Well, I think,
valuable or if
I don't know that it's, anybody's just adamant that we have to have it. I think this is just something we thought, maybe if we had 2 of them, we might
Well,
get.
no, I'm not
get better
saying
attendance
that's
in-
wrong. I'm just curious that how many parents take advantage of it.
Well, and
I hope a lot of
this
it-
may not be the right thing to say, but typically I don't feel like it's the ones that need to take advantage of it. You see a lot of parents during those times that you probably don't really need to talk to that much. That's just my own personal opinion.
What about at the high school, what do you think, attendances?
It's, we always have less than 100 parents for the 550 something kids we have. I don't know what percent it is, it's a low percentage. Usually it hovers around 75 parents that show up. And of course, you have the option of thinking about it. Just like the reason I asked Aaron to get it going right now, because I was a little late getting it started, and some parents reached out to me and said they work plants and they have to turn in vacation days by February something, and for the whole year, and I don't know, there was a little bit incentive to get it done sooner for some parents, it seemed like. I think that's something we could probably look at backing up.
I agree.
If it helps parents,
I would totally agree with that.
It's just something we've always done around this time of year, so I've never really thought about it. But yeah, if it helps people plan, we could certainly start.
Like October, November?
Yeah,
whether it have it for the first year.
yeah.
Well, we have parents that work in other districts too. And it kind of helps to know if they're going to be able to plan their vacation. Okay, would anyone like to make a motion that we accept the proposed 2019-2020 school calendar as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second? Any more discussion?
Should we say something about
Oh, but
contingent on?
No rules or
Yeah.
something? Yeah, you probably,
Contingent.
Continue on.
it is before the General Assembly right now, I think.
and if it does pass, what's going to happen?
Well, actually, what we were told, Aaron and I both researched it through our groups, him through the union and me through the IESA. What happened was when we went to evidence-based funding formula, we lost the rules for the 5-hour instructional day, and I was told no one really caught it. But that used to be tied to ADA, the average daily attendance. So we got paid on attendance, and that 5-hour instructional day was kind of part of that because they weren't going to pay you not to have 4 days of school. And when they changed the evidence-based funding, all that went away. And so right now, technically, there is no 5-hour instructional day legally. And so they're rectifying that now very quickly. I think it was just an oversight. That's what I heard.
I didn't look that far into it, but, I mean, the way it's worded now, like, you guys could decide what an instructional day is, how long it is. So if you said 2 minutes or whatever, I guess, technically
And
by law.
technically, because of the no 5-hour instructional day,
Can't have-
when we let out early the other day, it was a little before 2 o'clock, we let out, we don't have to do anything. You know, whereas with the 5-hour instructional day, there were some things we would have had to do.
So that's why there was a variance in when school districts was,
No, because I
Letting out
remember
that
you used
day.
to have to go to a certain hour.
Yeah, we used to always try to get that 2 o'clock
Right.
time, because at 2 o'clock, it didn't matter, right, Lisa? And then, so now, I think, what I was told is they're gonna put it back very similar, if not the same, to the 5-hour instruction day rules as before. It's just, right now, there aren't any rules. And they may, you never know, it may be totally different, we may have to look at this again.
Okay. Roll call?
Mr. Berger? Mr. Cook?
yes.
Ms. Larison?
Yes.
Ms. Rushing?
Yes.
Mr. Summer?
Yes.
Ms. Steele?
Yes. Okay, actions from closed session. We have one resignation request. And Charlotte Lynn, she's the elementary school nurse. We have a motion to accept her resignation.
I move.
Do we have a second? Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Berger? Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Ms. Larison?
Yes.
Ms. Rushing?
Yes.
Mr. Summer?
Yes.
Ms. Steele?
Yes. We have no retirement request. And now for new employment for high school PE and high school boys soccer head coach for fiscal year 2020. Kyle Reinwald.
Would you want to put contingent?
Contingent.
In the motion.
Right. Mr. Reinwald has not completed his certification yet. And
Contingent on.
we would need to hire him contingent upon him completing, obtaining his certification.
Educator licensure.
Second. Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Berger? Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Ms. Larison?
Yes.
Ms. Rushing?
Yes.
Mr. Summer?
Yes.
Ms. Steele?
Yes. And for the high school assistant softball coach, and this is a split position, it has been recommended that Marissa
Battalion, yeah, battalion.
I'm getting,
That was the split position shared with Ron George. Abby Taylor had helped with that before.
okay. Do we have a motion to accept that?
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll say.
Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Berger?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Ms. Larison?
Yes.
Ms. Rushing?
Yes.
Mr. Summer?
Yes.
Ms. Steele?
Yes. And for the high school assistant boys track coach, it has been recommended Jason Wilfer.
Yeah, he's head football coach.
He is the head football coach for the high school assistant boys track
And I
coach.
think that one, if I remember correctly, that's been open since the end of track season last year. I think it's been posted forever now, so.
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Berger? Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Ms. Larison?
Yes.
Ms. Rushing?
Yes.
Mr. Summer?
Yes.
Ms. Steele?
Yes. And for the Unity cook position, is this full-time?
This is it's not a full-time position. I think it's 4.5
hours. Didn't I read that
Yeah.
somewhere or something like
I
that?
was thinking I saw that.
I get some of them mixed up. It's either 4.5 or 5 hours, but whatever the position was when Peggy Sherrill did it. So it's Peggy Sherrill's former teacher.
Recommendation has been for Robin Anderson. Do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Any discussion?
4.5 hours.
Yeah, 4.5.
Did you all have anything? No. Roll call, please.
Mr. Berger?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Ms. Larison?
Yes.
Ms. Rushing?
Yes.
Mr. Summer?
Yes.
Ms. Steele?
Yes.
Everything's going okay.
Okay, no transfer, no other personnel.
Move it down.
Mr. Summer has moved that we
Wait a
adjourn.
minute, I said, I'll take that back. You want to explain to them what we did on that?
Oh, yeah, I meant to do that in my superintendent report. Larry was able to find a used grasshopper mower that's in excellent condition. Somebody was moving, I think.
Yeah, they were moving.
And he noticed it would be something that the district could definitely use. I had Ken look at it today, Larry brought it out. I think we'd be silly not to, it's $3,100 and it doesn't have that many hours on it and it's a grasshopper. And what are they new?
That one right there will be right around
8,000. So it's much heavier duty than the one Ken recommended we use it at elementary because that one is about on its last leg. And so you don't have to make a motion or
We're
anything.
gonna have to
I went
get
ahead,
one purchased sometime
He
this
said
year. We were talking
either-
about
I
it.
went
this year
ahead
or
and
next year.
serviced it, put some extra parts in and stuff that need to be done, so it's, I would consider it ready to hit the ground up.
I think the grasshopper would be a great one since Larry knows everything about working on it. I think that's, we got a cheap mechanic. We got a cheap mechanic there or something.
Remember, I can't look at one.
Okay, another question I have, where are we at on
I denied that opportunity.
fixing things for the district?
Oh, the light, health light
Yeah.
saving. They have been submitted to Illinois State Board of Education. They have to be approved, and then as soon as it's all approved, we have to look at the bond. And then we're already moving forward. I sat down with the architect and prioritized. The bleachers moved to the top of the priority list. They were already way up there, but they won't retract anymore. They fouled up last time. And so we had to call the guys in from Missouri just to stable them up for the regional tournament. They can't go back in. So, and they're dangerous. We're gonna have to, that's priority number one. We're looking at scheduling that this summer. Yeah, we're looking at scheduling that. And then the HVAC system at Brookport and junior high, the computer controls are completely defunct now, and we have to manually override everything. So that's priority number two. And then we'll start picking things off.
Those are pretty much just computer
That's just-
software problems.
Yeah, it's just, it's quite ditzy.
Not yet.
Yeah.
We're discussing other things.
Oh, I know. Oh,
Yeah, it's just a
yeah.
control, yeah.
But it'd be a lot more than that if it was everything else besides the controls.
Right, and then what we're looking at is something that anybody can, right now they're proprietary and only people from Nashville or St. Louis can work on them. And these would be local guys who can work on them all day
That's
long.
the kind we,
That's what
that's
we're
what
looking
we do.
Okay, do we know what time the game is tomorrow?
It's online here, let me look real quick. So, let's see, Massac played Murphy at 6 tonight. Tomorrow night, the 26th, we play Carbondale at 7:30.
Okay, game's at 7:30 tomorrow night.
And it looks like Massacuda will play the winner of Marion and Carterville tomorrow night in the early game.
Larry made the motion, we adjourn. Mr. Berger has seconded. Roll call, please.
Mr. Berger? Mr. Cook? Ms. Larison?
Yes.
Ms. Rushing?
Yes.
Mr. Summer? Ms. Hill?
That's true. I'll check
Yeah,
into that.
that's something